happen to glaze through it to see how much the value is? How big a grant?
No, I don't remember. I can see if I can.
It didn't say, or you didn't?
I don't remember. It's up to 100,000.
Oh, this is too small. Well, I mean, it's a good grant, outdoor recreation puts up to 100,000. Well, we could do a parking lot.
Dad, can you hear me?
So Randy, if the
Can you hear Ian?
library gets built there, will it become part of the?
I can hear you.
Perfect, thank you.
Believe it or not, really, recreation is in.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, it is.
when we had that work session and they started bringing up the library, I'm going,
How's that fit?
well, yeah, how's that go with us?
Yeah,
And then it's the same spot that we were thinking about for the dog park, right?
well, close. It was that location on the other side of where they were talking, where the library is.
Yeah,
Just to the other side of that lot was where we thought the dog park would be.
yeah.
Really, it would accommodate both.
So is that, school buildings, is that vacant now? I think it was Head Start or something like that?
You mean that one building in front of everything? No, that's the National Guard.
When you
Oh,
go to the top-
yeah, Head
When you
Start.
go on the top, it's.
Yeah. Head Start. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Head Start. Now they use it as I think a daycare.
Oh, okay. Because that'd be a great place for a library, right where that building is.
Well, I believe Patty, the SWAC, purchased the building from the city and now use it for part of their daycare for adults
Oh, for the
going to school.
Oh, that's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
Of course, I don't know, they get all the kids together now?
yeah,
Are
that's,
they able to?
yeah. Are we ready? Anytime, Mary.
Oh, we're an hour early according to that clock.
We'll have to reset that one.
Ones that we bought the other day.
Did you get some for
We got warm 6 cans.
Are they hot?
All
Do you want
yours,
to look
Mary.
at what I have?
No, we don't come.
Call from Olympus. IN. Olympus. IN.
Whose phone is that?
I believe it's Bev's. We're gonna have to.
Oh, Mary, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, it's all yours.
Okay. Bev will be back in a minute, but I'll do roll call. Everybody's so tiny on the little screen. So, Bill Davis, are you here?
Here?
Bev Myers, are you here? Oh, she was. I don't know where she went. She'll come back. I'm here, Ariane Lyons. Coco Sutton, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Bill Otten? I don't see Bill. Patty Scott?
She's not gonna make it today.
Thank you. Sam Crowley?
I am here.
Carmen Matthews?
I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you for attending today. We will dive into the March 18th Parks Commission. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from February 18th, 2021? And if so, can I get a motion?
Sam will move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Who was the second?
Yes.
Bill Davis.
Thank you, Bill, for seconding. Any opposed? We'll make a motion to approve. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Citizen input, is there anybody in the room there?
Yep, we got somebody here. Hang on. Come on up to the podium and introduce yourself. Name, please, residence.
My name is Crystal Kralachek, and I'm a Coos Bay resident.
And
I'm here
Ken?
with this Coos Bay Skate Park Association.
Did you have something you wanted to present to? Okay, so he's got it, okay, comment, you can go on to 4.
Okay, the presentation from the Coos Bay Skate Park Association.
My name is Tristan Reeser. I reside in Coos Bay, Oregon, 91516 Dolezal Lane. I'm a lifelong resident of Coos Bay. I own property here now as an adult. I was one of the original crew that built Coos Bay Skate Park, and back in August I was made aware that it was vandalized. I stepped forward and volunteered. Personally, I put 154 hours in repairing the place. We had 5 volunteers at that time for a total of 231 hours. We replaced 70 lineal feet of the pool coping, which is the top grinding edge of the bowl surface. At that time, working with Scott Davison and the head of the parks, they asked me to evaluate the park and see if there was anything else I could fix while I was there. During that process, I realized the extent of the repairs needed far exceeds what a volunteer can accomplish, and Coos Bay Skate Park Association was formed. It's currently me as president, Crystal as vice president, we have Carl Illum as secretary, and Keisha Pierce as treasurer. We were incorporated with the state of Oregon on 11/23/2020, and we recently filed for our 501c3 status on February 4th. We're awaiting a reply from the IRS, can take up to 6 months. So the date for that would be August 4th. And we would like to work with the city of Coos Bay to repair and update the current skate park. We're here today just as an introduction that we exist and to open the door for us to start communications on hopefully expansion of the park once we repair the park.
Okay.
Thank you, Tristan. We appreciate you coming in. We think, personally, I think the skate park is a valuable asset for our community. And I appreciate you spearheading and getting the volunteer group together.
Well, thank you. I think it's going to be a long road, especially with the climate that we're in right now with the pandemic and everything. But as long as we keep putting one foot in front of the other, there is a lot of area down there that's slightly used that we would like to possibly expand into if we can get the repairs done. And we would like to get a design and a game plan on how to bring the skate park up to today's standards of a community skate park. There's a lot of them in the state. There's a lot of tourism from skate parks. The skate park that we have right now is very advanced. It is on the professional skateboarding level, and we don't have a lot to offer for the youth and the intermediate and the old guys like myself. But with that said, there's a lot of professional skateboarders that come through every year. At least 2 or 3 different groups come to Coos Bay because of that skate park being there. And I would love to see it expanded. A good example of a really good skate park is Eugene's Washington Jefferson Skate Park. It was built by Dreamland Skate Parks, which is the #1 builder in the world for skate parks. They actually live in Oregon. Their hometown is Lincoln City, which is also another really good skate park in the state of Oregon. If you guys want to do some research into different skate parks in the area.
Sure.
By my calculations, inside the fenced area of the skate park, there's approximately 6,000 square feet that we could redesign and make a lot better than what it is. If we are able to expand beyond the fenced area of the skate park, the second tennis court is 7,200 square feet, which would be a pretty good destination-sized skate park if we had the tennis courts and the existing skate park fully developed. I know that you guys have a 10-year plan for that area down there.
No, the park currently is going through a master plan, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that later on here. But that side of the park has not had a master plan on it yet. I can tell you the council and the Parks Board, the community at large, is looking for a Clover location for ball field. So if that year strikes, we have identified a location, I think, in the city where that ball field would be located. That's going to open up different values for that end of the park. So that's the reason why it's not been master planned yet for that end of the park, but there will be a master plan coming for that, dependent upon development of these other areas that will come to.
We would very much like to be involved in that conversation.
We will muchly involve the community in that process, yes, and yourselves.
Well, we greatly appreciate that.
What would you say damaged the skate park? Is there a certain element, or is it mostly
Dollar
weather?
value.
There's a lot of factors that went into the damage that's at the park right now. The vandalization, in my opinion, was destruction of public property. I filed a police report against the person that did it. The investigation fell short of being able to prove wrongdoing on his part, but that's neither here nor there. The reason it was able to be vandalized is because that park has settled over the years. The history of that area is, at the turn of the century, it used to be a sluice, so it's not a surprise that a concrete structure, especially with the cradle piece, the main spot in that bowl, it's called the cradle, that is about 35 yards worth of cement, so it has a lot of weight to it. And because of the weight from that, it has shifted the park away from the street by a few inches. And it was built really well. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I was part of the building crew, but that park is held together really well over the years, except the flat bank on the backside, which is the slope that's towards the ball field. It was not designed to withstand the weight of that park settling against it, which it has formed a crack all the way down. It runs for about 54 feet. And in my opinion, I'd like a second opinion on it as well, it's a structural crack, which means it needs to be demoed, replaced correctly. There is no way that I can go in and patch it and actually fix it. I can make it look good, but it's not going to solve the issue.
Do you have some kind of an estimate as to what it might take to fix it?
I'm not a licensed contractor, so I can't give you an exact dollar amount, but in the tens of thousands. I did the square footage on it. The flat bank itself is 660 square feet, which equates to approximately 20 yards of material that needs to be removed. The decks on top of it have actually, the flat bank's like this, the decks are poured on top of it. The cradle has sunk and has lifted the deck from its base. So there's approximately 50 feet worth of decking that is hollow and has been compromised. So I give it, if it's not fixed, I give it about 5 years before that flat bank fails. Once the flat bank fails, the park will continue to settle and it'll be a really bad appeal. And it stopped settling. This date is based off of 2012, the city paid for maintenance to be done in the park. And based off of the maintenance that was done and the way the park has settled, I can equate that the park stopped settling about 2012. It hasn't settled much since, and that's because it came to rest on that flat bank, which is causing that crack, which if that fails, then it'll start settling again.
So do you have some fundraiser type ideas in mind of what you might do?
We've been working on the paperwork and the ground of this organization more than trying to push for fundraising. Right now with fundraising, it mainly needs to be be done online because we can't do in-person fundraising.
Right.
So that's going to be a challenge for us, but we have to start somewhere. So we're starting there.
It's a whole bunch of people with a lot of empty beer cans and pop cans just sitting out there now.
That we can't even turn in.
That's right. People's garages are filling up.
Yes.
Yeah,
We did do a GoFundMe to raise the funds for the application, which is $600. We pulled that off pretty quickly, and then we're just kind of in limbo at the current moment. We want to gauge, how you guys accept us and that sort of thing before we really start pushing forward. We haven't really even put the word out that we exist. We wanted to come to you guys first. We created a public page through Facebook, and in the last couple of months, we've amassed 144 followers without really promoting it. So there is definitely a good support for this organization and for upkeep and expansion of the skate park in the future.
No, I think it's a great idea.
I think that's about all I have. If you guys have any questions for me, or if Crystal, you want to say anything? Or?
I really just like to express my part about it.
Sure, come on up.
I run one of the 3 board or skateboard businesses in town, and since the pandemic started, people are wanting their kids to get outside, get some exercise, bond. I mean, we're losing some of that human interaction, and a skate park is a great way for kids to build, get exercise, bond with each other. There's just so many things positive about it, and I've seen, like with ours, increase in sales by 2,000%. I mean, in skateboards, and so people are on board, but we need a safe place, a healthy place for kids to come. And like he said, we have so many tourists, professional skateboarders, and people that pass through that people don't even realize. And we've even had some offer to come and like get on board with, signing autographs for fundraisers and things like that to help, support this movement as far as getting the skate park. Oregon, like he says, is a mecca for skate parks. We have the most skate parks of any state.
Sure.
Yeah, and unfortunately, ours is a little dilapidated, so we just need a good network and support system to.
Well, you guys bring about a lot of good support here, and what I'm thinking that in terms of like bringing events or schedule events or having others come into the community outside tourism dollars, it's all about how you spend that and how you market it and
Right.
bring that positive into the community. So I think forming the 501c and a nonprofit is a great start in this process and a great relationship here to move it forward, looking at what the use of that facility is for and what activity should be in it based on the design that it was designed, and that it maintains that. But future and looking down the road with the Parks Board and the Commission and the Council for that drive for the community, that's where we look at you guys to help and assist us in what the needs to grow out that would be. And of course, obviously, doesn't make sense just to build anything out there, because you build it for people to come and use it. And so the users, we want to make sure we get their insight on everything we do, just to make sure that we have that vision.
Right. Yeah, thank you, and thank you for listening to us and
Yeah.
with, an open mind and, we really appreciate it.
That does bring me to a point of the rules of the park. The rules of the park were established in 2009 when we opened the park. I was a part of making the rules. I actually voted to include BMX and scooters. I was outvoted. And at this time, the reason I was outvoted is because the design of the park was not designed to withstand bike pegs and scooters. That's part of the reason that the park is in the condition that it's in currently, and that's the main driving force of me being down there every day, being a volunteer to see that the rules are followed. Currently, in the state the park is in, it is extremely easy for somebody to damage the rest of the coping for the park to be deemed unsafe and be closed. Speaking with David Crandall and Scott Davison, they've stated that if the park is deemed unsafe, it will be closed until they have funds to put towards it. I know you guys are over budget currently, so I've been down there almost daily since October. I will be down there until we can get the rest of the cooking fixed. There's 185 lineal feet of it that still needs to be fixed, some of which you could literally pull out by hand because the settling has separated the bond beam from the cooking tile itself. So I'm willing to step up and volunteer. I have the knowledge to fix it. As soon as the budget comes in, I want to come in there and fix the extra 180 feet so that I don't feel like I have to be down there to
Okay.
make sure that the parts are in.
Well, you give me some ideas here to think where we can dig up some, excuse the pun, but dig up some funding to assist in that program. The general fund obviously is hit pretty heavy here for the city. Life safety is always priority in most municipalities, so funding generally goes to fire and police rather than your other services. And we have 200 acres throughout our park system, and that pencils out to less than $1 an acre to maintain with what budget we have in our general fund to maintain parkland. Far, far, far behind any benchmark standard. But we're trying to raise that bar every year, and we have done well. We've created a new master plan. Of course, it's about ready to come up for renewal again. And so we'll be working on that with the commission and council to update that. That's when y'all are going to come into good input there, and we can talk about how to drive that. So we'll have more discussion with your interest in that skate park, because I am very, very interested in your interest with that facility. Not just that facility, but possibly looking at the master plan, because behind the scenes, what you don't know, what the Parks Board's been working on in different locations, the ball field, and like I told you, a BMX motocross location, that's all also in discussion with another location. So there's options here, is what I'm saying. But it would be good to have you in. We're going to be looking here soon at Mingus Park and what that renovation plan looks like, not the ball complex, because like I told you, council, we're looking at a whole new location. One ball field only meets one use, and what we need in this community is ball fields, but we need a clover. That's 5 ball fields that can be multiple use for different activities. So that's another process that we're moving into, but at the same time, that's a process that also has excess ground that can be converted into BMX tracks and staging area, have its own parking, entrance, and control. So we'll be back in more discussion. Thanks for coming and giving us a piece on you. We'll be in talk. Did you guys make sure you get with Kelly to give you your emails and contacts so that we can reach out to you?
There's a
Thank you.
sign-in sheet on that table, if you guys just want to jot it down on there. Do that.
Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. I think we'll move on down to item number 5, the downtown library location. If the library does in fact move out to the Empire Lakes location, I wanted to discuss preemptively what that existing library location could be for and future open space. Yeah, put our hat in the ring early so that we can maybe stake some claim on that with the Parks Department. Carmen, are you excited? Do you have something you want to say? You look excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that potential lot. As many of you probably know, the Blossom Creek runs right through the library property there along Bennett Avenue. And one thing that I would love to see is for us to work with the Army Corps of Engineers to see if we could daylight that creek and make that a green space downtown. One of the criticisms that we've heard, or at least I've heard, about the library location that we've picked was that we should maintain green spaces, and we can't afford to lose any more green spaces in our community, meaning taking that portion of John Toppit's Park and developing it. But I think it would be a great trade-off or alternative to take the existing location and make it a green space in the downtown area. And I would love to see some kind of development that leads from the boardwalk and through a greenway or some kind of pedestrian walkway leads to the Mingus Park area. Pulling people off 101 and then into our crown jewel, also known as Mingus Park. Especially with all the work that we're going to be doing with Mingus Park, I just see that as a great way to pull that piece of property in as another gateway into that park experience.
Thank you, Carmen. Randy, do you have any items for discussion on this item?
Well, we'd want to look, I mean, you're talking about the library parking lot, right? The
Yeah,
building
the
site
building
that's-
location and the
current
parking lot.
site, Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, I don't
think-
know how the rest of it would look, but I think that you could do some kind of green space, parking area. I have no idea what it would, but what I would like to see is that creek daylighted so that we could develop that in some way in a more natural urban park kind of like setting. I know it's a fairly large parcel. It's just around 2 acres, I believe, altogether. So I don't know if we need more parking down there, but a little green space down in that area would be cool, especially if it integrated the creek itself.
Well, a couple of things, just off thought, is, you were talking about some open areas to daylight, bioswales or something, that's not a bad idea. You could do that in a section. I don't know if you'd want the entire run to the bay open, obviously. I think floodgates would have to control it. But I think what you're saying, Carmen, with expansion, you could do like expansion ponds, small areas, water bioswales within that development, green space, and you could make like either checkerboard areas for chess, outdoor chess, connectivity with outdoor recreation that's already here, and tie it into your downtown core area.
Yeah, I was not thinking of daylighting the whole creek. I was more just thinking of a section of it.
You bet.
'Cause-
Well, that whole street, correct me if I'm wrong, but the city vacated the street directly behind it.
That is correct. It's still showing that on the city plat as well. I think that, potentially some of the problems that we're having, Randy, you and I have talked about this with the, basically like hydraulic fracking that's happening with the vault that leads Blossom Creek to the bay. It might be alleviated
Well, it would.
if we have space for it to that creek to expand
Yeah, if
during
you,
high tide events.
If you calculate the flows in the worst time of the year and just expand your expansion ponds, that takes away the pressure that builds up in that, like we talked about with the hydraulic suctioning that goes on below grade.
Yeah.
It wouldn't do that because now you're expanding above surface into areas that's been constructed and built for such, rather than
That's-
pushing into your infrastructure and sucking it out.
I feel like there's a lot of different ways that we could fund something like this. And that piece of property obviously has some issues for future development. So for me, it just seems kind of like a natural to return it back to a green space.
Well, and if we treat it right, there's probably, spell it right in a grant, you could probably get DEQ dollars for environmental control. Say that you're pre-treating before you're letting to the bay, which isn't hard to do. So, I would say that's got all kinds of possibilities.
Yeah, I had a friend who's part of the Army Corps of Engineers, and like one of his main jobs was working with dams and then also daylighting creeks that had been buried like this. So he said that there was a lot of opportunities for municipalities to work with the Army Corps of Engineers to design and then build out those projects. So, and then it's also a fish-bearing stream, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah, salmon.
Yeah, so there's probably some fish and wildlife potentials there as well. I mean, I'm not positive, but it'd be pretty cool.
Sure. No, I think it's endless what we can do.
I know when we were looking at the fire station lot initially for some sort of pre-development park space, Mike Vaughn had brought up the idea of daylighting the creek through there, which I thought was a great idea, and maybe not necessarily for that location, but I think given the opportunity with the library location, I like that, utilizing it for some sort of green space. Because again, like Carmen said, the development of that piece could be cumbersome for future use.
Sure. And like
It's
you
in the
say, you know,
floodplain. It's got poor soil issues. Obviously, it's a sinking lot. Otherwise, we'd be looking at maybe rebuilding there. But yeah,
And,
those
and
are my
I'll go
thoughts.
back. I'll go back to my absolutely crazy, insane idea that I discussed when we did the original master plan years ago, which was a linear park that connects the boardwalk in Coos Bay to downtown Empire, so that it's a linear park multimodal path that connects most of our park spaces and connects both downtowns, which is kind of insane, but this could be a part of that.
yeah, I guess if you look at that area from where that vacated street is, if it was designed in an overflow, the street area, maybe a pond area that's open flow, in that area with river rock, you know, and maybe even a deck above it and benches there, and then you could come out of there, hit the trail, the sidewalk, and then the new 4th Street getting done, there will be a main ped crossing at that point. Curtis is on the horizon to get done, Curtis Avenue, so that gets tied together. The last thing that we need to do is work on the parking lot there in the downtown area, A, B, and C. That really needs to be tore up and redone right, and make it better flow for everybody. Got some ideas. There's no sidewalk within the parking lot on the south end of Curtis, but there is on the other side of Curtis on the south side. So I say on the north side, excuse me, there is no sidewalk. So that road gets redone, and remember the vault is under that road. So that could become part of a project through DEQ to enhance that and tag it in for your environmental quality for further extension. But that's a project of its own, and it has good possibilities.
Thank you.
Ariane, to your point, that would lead basically from the pre-pedway along the pre-route out to Empire,
Yeah.
which would lead past Mingus, and then to John Toppet's, to the other library. I mean, it just connectivity on so many levels, and I think that is a wonderful vision. But so I'm all for it. Let's get it done.
I think we can do it elements at a time and maximize those grant dollars.
Yeah.
If you put in some key parts of that, I think the case for connecting it all is there. So I'm really happy to hear that Curtis is on the slate for getting fixed, because the sidewalks there are horrible. So if you're trying to bring people off the boardwalk, like it's not an ADA route or anything like that. I mean, 4th Street will be much improved, so that'll be great. And obviously 4th Street leads right onto Bennett, and that'll be wonderful. So lots of stuff to make happen.
Pretty exciting stuff. Any other commissioners have comments about the library location in downtown Coos Bay future uses?
This is Commissioner Sutton. I think I liked the idea of the bioswale issues. That's very, state parks did a lot down in Brookings at the old Lily Farm. That's now one of the state parks where we had the Pistol River come out. And it helps alleviate a lot of issues that you have with drainage when you come down there. So I think that's a really good plan to incorporate into your park green space.
I agree.
Thank you, Coco. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to the next item, ballpark parking, Old Armory location. I wanted this tossed on here, looking at the library, possibly being in that location, possible ball fields, possible parking, existing parking, and the discussion of what is that armory going to be in the future. Randy, do you have any commentary on that?
Can you say that again? I could barely make out that. Say that again, Arian. I apologize.
That's okay. I just looking at, I just wanted to open for discussion we're having in a central location, potentially the ballpark cluster, the library, potential dog park near there. We have the armory there with the large parking lot. And then what is the armory going to be in the future? Do we have any updates or ideas or knowledge about that?
I have not, yeah, excuse me, I did contact the National Guard. It's been a while back. They had decommissioned most of their activities there at the site, and it's my understanding, back when I had that conversation, that they would be pretty much looking at moving on with that facility. And typically, they offer those facilities back to the municipalities, that they incorporated in. So in Salem, I was able to get a couple of these National Guard structures, and we were able to use them for maintenance buildings or whatever facilities we needed at the time. But I don't see this any different. I haven't got back with him yet, but I'll do so here in the next week or so, and then I'll have a follow-up in an email for the National Guard Armory. Now,
Thank you.
for the ballpark, I don't think it's a bad location. I think it's a good location. I've said that from the beginning. If you remember, we talked about that location 4 years ago. But then we talked about Ocean Boulevard come up when we had property there, and we thought maybe that might be an idea. And Ocean Boulevard's not a bad location, but I will say, Empire location is going to take less, how can I say this, buying in from the community, because you already have a park and access into it, whereas anywhere else that we've looked at is going to require constructing that access. So there are some benefits to that. The other benefit, I think, too, bringing any activity into Empire also runs out that other negative activity, or has a chance to run that other negative activity out. So I like that idea. Now, as far as the library goes, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck in the center of the road on that one. I see the benefits of where it's at, or I get the reasoning behind where they're going with it there, but I don't know, I'm just at 50 on that one. Not to say that I have anything bad about libraries, because libraries go with parks. They do. I just don't know. I think I would have put the library up front and put the ball field in the back. That's my opinion. That's just Randy.
I don't believe that the actual site for the library has been chosen.
Oh, it has not?
I mean, not the location within the park parcel itself.
Okay, all right. But, well, there at Empire, that is a location, but we just haven't decided what location in that footprint to put it. Is that what you're saying, Carmen?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's
And
good.
that's why I wanted to have a little bit of this conversation is I think if we're going to look at all of these elements at that location, it makes sense to look at them all at the same time and do a full master plan for the Empire Lakes
I
Park.
don't disagree at all.
Yeah.
Again, I just wanted to talk about it so it's on everyone's radar.
It would have been great to have this discussion before we actually had to make the decision. Unfortunately, we are up against a deadline, and with this bond measure going through, we had to have a application to make it work. So I think it's great that we're talking about it now. Sorry to throw you guys under the bus the other day when we were having the discussion. Like, oh, what do you guys think about the library? Like, what? What's happening? That was, it caught everybody off guard, and it was a really quick-paced discussion. I hope that the Parks Commission feels okay with the location that we ultimately chose. Obviously, at this point, it's already been decided on, but I hope we can make it work.
I think it's not a bad thing having it there. It's just, to me, I think you should have the library up front, closer to Newmark for visibility, accessibility, and, to put the ballpark in that other corner, You know, ballparks take serious lighting, especially in the, you know, when you're playing football or soccer, when you're in the darker hours. So you're gonna run some heavy lights. Those should be stuck in the back. And the reason for that is that also deteriorates them other folks wanting to come and that other element in there. But anyway, I assume, since we haven't even got to the master plan, but I think with the Parks Commission, the council, we should be able to have some input on that and see some visioning through a master plan. And I'm going to say this, if the library's going into a park setting, then I'm all for let's make sure the library pays for a master plan. You know what I'm saying? Even if we had to go for a grant for something to help us out, but to get that vision brought in. And here at the closing of the meeting, I'll show you why it's so important for that master plan. I know Arian knows all these answers, but we'll find out here in a little bit.
This is Commissioner
Yeah,
Sutton. If
oh.
I may, I had a comment for the chair. I do agree with you on, while you're making your master plan, given that the property that the city already owns is not going to be growing very much in the city's current boundaries, it would probably be good to consider any other structures for fire life and safety, et cetera, that might be needing a home in the future that might impact your park planning and your green space. Just in the back of people's minds, because there's a lot of people from your past master plans since the 80s that have had projects that they want in the few parks, and some of the buildings and things that might be impacted. So I think that's a wise decision to look at everything. Is that something that's been done in the past? Like fire stations or things like that? I don't know if I said that correctly, but.
Are you talking about the library site?
Right. In other words, if libraries and other facilities of the city get opportunities to build to mitigate issues on land that the city already owns, would it be something to incorporate into your current master plans, which are usually 20 years or more? Is that correct? Usually most park plans are a 20-year master plan.
Yeah.
Is there other structures in the city that are impacted that might be looking, with a lot of the money that's coming out of the federal government right now for things like museums, parks, things like that, that should be considered, as well as the multi-use ballpark and sports complex and skate parks and dog parks, things like that? So it's just something I'm asking.
Yeah, so it's my understanding, this is Commissioner Matthews, it's my understanding that there's a hope that we can cite some emergency sheltering-like facility, community facility of some sort on that site as well. So I think we need to get ahead on master planning for this site as soon as possible. And I think you're completely correct in terms of citing some of those needed community assets alongside that that structure itself. So it has been talked about by the council, which is good. Now we just need to figure out what all those things are. Sounds like the fire station is staying out in Empire where it is currently. But there's need. Well, actually, there was a discussion to maybe put the fire station out at SWAC and have it as a part of the college and a training facility as well. So that's right. That's what I remember. There's lots of things going on, but it's a good thing to keep in our toolkit for when we're doing this master planning. I think we should start as soon as possible.
And that's one thing I do appreciate is the last few years, the approach of having council as well as planning commission having some overlap in the different commission and committees, so we're not acting completely independent and unaware of what the other committees and commissions are doing. So I do appreciate that effort over the last few years to be sure that we're at least all on the same page, if not all at the same table.
Yeah, I would move that we try to do more of those joint meetings, because there's decisions being made in different areas. I would hate for us to be putting together a bunch of work into this master plan and then find out that the city's already got plans that they're working on. So, or the planning commission, however all these things look. So, pulling us all together is really important, and I'm really glad that we made that happen this last time. But I think that we could have made it a little bit more fruitful as well.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments regarding the ballpark, library, Old Armory, Empire Lakes? No, I don't think so.
Any, hold up. Is there any status on that bridge project?
Oh my gosh.
Come again? Bridge?
The bridge project? What's
Which
happening with
bridge?
that?
Are you talking about the bridge to nowhere?
Yeah, there's a couple of them, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the bridge in the lake itself. No, we're not moving on that. If you recall, we backed up and we were talking about doing a bulkhead because the tie-in to that lake from that end was too short. So in other
No.
words, engineering wouldn't even look at it for environmental purposes because the end of the lake there's no suitable location for it. So it's not recommended by engineering. Now, a dike with an extension is, but that's going to take some serious permitting.
God, I thought we were much farther along. I thought we had a bridge all figured out that was going to get helicoptered in and all this stuff, but
Yep.
I guess I remember
went down the road.
incorrectly.
I went down the road. I even got dollars on that, Carmen, for doing that about 5-6 years ago. And then we come back to look at another option because that bridge, to put it in, the columns where they would have to go, remember we talked about what would be taking place to put columns in to attach the bridge, which it would have been cheaper in the long run to do a dike. Not a dike, but an open box culvert for water passage and a hard surface on the top of it.
Oh, I do remember that.
So I think I even got pictures in one of the reports that I sent out to you guys when we had a staff meeting or a board meeting here. But I put viaducts, if you look, there was viaducts sitting there and then rock coming up to it with a bridge going across it for about 30, 40 feet. And that would be the bridge. That's more doable than doing piles for that aluminum bridge that we were first looking at to set it down there. And you don't have to, the viaduct doesn't have to be real deep, just deep enough to get kayaks through, paddle boats or something of that nature. And that's probably more realistic. And you still would have to use something to haul it in there because those ducts are 4 foot by probably 10 feet, 8 feet, weighing serious pounds. So it ain't like a piece of equipment could take it and drive it to the lake. You'd have to have it airlifted still. But that's still part of the plan. It still can be done. But do you do that and then what? Do you piecemeal it or do you do a master plan? See, that's where we're at. I think a master plan, I mean, look what's coming into play now. You got a library and you got ball fields looks like it's going to be a major possibility. And if that building does go away, that's possible building for a maintenance shop for the city, which would be very nice to have out of the floodplain. Anyway.
Thank you, Randy. Randy, did you have another item you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, Travel Oregon's got a grant opportunity out. They're not large dollars, but 115,000, 120,000 would be enough to do the parking lot there at Empire. Now, the parking lot's not going to change, so I would think it'd be worthy to seek funding and it's easy to prove COVID related to recreation and outdoor activities. I got a feeling this would go 100%. So I'm going to probably put it in and see where we go from there for redoing the parking lots down at Lower Lake there, both parking lots, and the dam, road going across the dam as well. So that they would have brand new asphalt, brand new striping. It looked real nice. In addition, Roger informed me the other day that through the COVID relief program, the city is getting several millions of dollars, couple anyway, and he's going to dedicate some of that funding to the Mingus Pool to rehab that tank, the pool tank. Remember, we've rehabbed and rebuilt the building, put all new equipment in, but that pool tank hasn't been resurfaced. So there's funds that he's going to assign to that, so I'll be doing an RFP to get that underway pretty quick. And then lastly, I would kind of like to show you some pictures of the master plan. So this is the site, if you can see it. This is the overhead site. So we're going to walk through the other pictures here in a minute. Let me turn the light down here.
While you're getting there, just real quick, when you say pool tank, do you mean like the actual pool itself, or is that like some holding tank for the water heating
No, that's
area?
the outdoor pool, swimming pool.
The swimming pool surface itself.
Yeah, we actually went out there and surveyed it, remember, about 5 years ago, and gave it a prep coat just to tie it over for 3-4 years. And now it needs totally, the whole the liner has to be sandblasted off. You take it down, it's about a 1/2 inch thick. Then they'll replaster it and then finish it, marblite it, color it, and put the new tile in.
Oh, man. Well, I hope we have the North Bend pool online when that happens. Otherwise, we won't have a pool in Coos Bay, North Bend.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. You ever get it up there? You are. So these are just slide shots of what the visioning is that we've worked on so far for the park. This will also help for the state parks when I go for the grant, applying for the grant to help us out for renovations. So you can see that. Go ahead, go to the next. Get closer. And I'll be getting a 32 by 40 inch renderings of these pages for putting them on display when we get ready with the grants and moving forward. Go ahead and go to the next. Hello.
Oh no, where are they?
Oh, they didn't load?
All the pages are there, but they're blank.
Try going back one.
So let me see if I can open it again. Maybe an issue with the network.
Well, what I'm seeing right now looks pretty cool.
Well, I got to tell you, this is really, really cool design on this. I don't know if you can't see it, but we could send it out to everybody so you can take a better look at it. One thing I want to bring to point here, you probably got about, I'm going to say, 75,000 in design. ZCS wrote this off free for the city and the community.
I don't have that, Randy.
There's a good one. Now, if you look at the bioswales to the left, that's in the south end of the park. That's after we raise it about 5 feet. Look at the swell where the water now comes on the other side and picks up in a trench. You see what I'm saying? Go to the next
Oh,
slide.
yeah. I'm very happy to see that.
So there's the bathroom, the new one, and the picnic pavilion. Keep her going. So that's if you were at the restroom looking down, getting ready to walk down to the stairs. We have a picnic pavilion between the two play areas. One's that rock climbing wall, and then a play area. And notice how the concrete benches are made abutting the play area so people can sit. You don't have to pay for benches. See what I'm saying? That's a cost-effective measure. Keep going there.
Well, I like that it also creates a barrier for the kids to
Exactly.
slow them down when they're running to the pool or running towards the street.
Exactly.
Looks like a good place to do a rail grind with a skateboard too. Just a heads up.
Put a metal edge on it.
Yeah.
Even better.
So there's the fishing pier showing the lakes. Okay. And that's the overview looking back at where you just came from with the south end there. So like I say, I thanked ZCS. They did this free of charge to us. I told them that we needed some renderings to show to the public what we're fixing to try to go to do here and foster some support. And they at first said, well, yeah, we can put a price tag. And I said, the problem is my budget's tapped out. And they said, well, we want to help you, so we'll do the rendering. So they did it, and we got it. So
It looks great.
That's what the visioning's been, and that's where the direction's going. So the two grants, again, is going to be through ODFW and state parks. This other grant, Travel Oregon's really not big enough, but it can be used for surface projects that we have that can fill those gaps. I'll be going for the ODF grant for this year, and the funding or the material coming out of the pond would be used to raise. It's about 16,000 cubic yards. So we'll use about half of that in the southern end of the park, and the other half, there are some potential locations in development we're doing in Coos Bay that material could go to. So it could be just right off site, so there's no disposal costs. So anyway, I just wanted to share with you those visionings so you got a better 3D look at it.
Yeah, those look great. This is Sam here. If I recall correctly, at one point there was talk of getting like a big beam from the university stadium. Is that still a thing?
Yes, it is. We're in the process now of scheduling a 40-foot truck to go over there to recover all those structural beams. So the picnic pavilions you see and the restroom and that pavilion for the restroom would all be constructed from that lumber.
Great, that's awesome.
Randy, I always, because it comes back to I'm a swinger. I like to swinger on swings. Let me clarify, swinger on swings. And so when I take my nephews to the park, that tends to be what we use. So my only comment last time and this time, I know that their placeholders is I'd like to see some more swing sets. But other than that, I think it looks absolutely amazing. It's our Mingus Park, Troche Gardens is our crown jewel, and this will just bring it over the top, I think.
I agree. That's all I had.
Any other commissioner comments?
Nope.
I got one, or a couple, before I leave here. Real quickly, I wanted to point out once again that there's like a chain climbing area on the playground down here at Mingus, and the chains themselves are in serious disrepair. Some of them, many of them are already broken, so they're kind of dangling, and then there's a bunch of them that are really close to breaking. I think we need to get that addressed like sooner rather than later, and I'm not sure what the pathway is on that, but if there's any way that I could help, I'd be willing to volunteer my time to get those fixed.
No, we'll put a work order together, and we'll get staff to get out there and take a look at it and see what's needed.
Okay. Then also wanted to just bring up one more time the basketball hoop over there by the skate park. Still waiting on that backboard and basketball hoop at some point.
Okay. Okay,
So if
well,
that,
put them back on the point. Sorry, we didn't get to them.
yeah, that's okay. I'll keep
All
on
the two bodies we
poking.
have, we'll
So,
make sure we get there, Carter.
yeah, that's my job here. I want to play some basketball down there with my
I
kiddo.
hear you.
All right, that's all I have.
Thanks, Carmen. Bill, Bev, Sam, do you have items you would like to share?
All done.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Exciting things are happening in our parks, which I think is pretty amazing. And I am definitely looking forward to the next few months and beginning our master planning process overall for parks, as well as the master plan process for Empire Lakes and the other part of Mingus Park. So lots of amazing things are happening. It's really exciting, and I thank everybody for being a part of the Parks Commission.
You bet.
We are adjourned.